when people show up for work every day, they're either doing one of two things. They're either living or they're existing. And there's a huge difference between the two. When you exist, just hearing that word, it just, when I think about it, it feels really hollow. Imagine talking about a friend or a family member and say, oh yeah, they just exist. What is that? There's no real purpose to it. It's stagnant. It's not going anywhere. But when you say, yeah, they are really living, there's a warmth, there's a purpose to their life. And so a lot of times people think that the job is the thing that's bringing them a lot of unhappiness in their life. And honestly, it's not. Your job is just a tool that either supports your happiness or can take away from it. And so when you show up, let's say, you know what, I'll give you a great example. He fixed foundations. I was remodeling a house out in Kansas, a little farm town, about 150 years old in Winfield, Kansas. My wife always jokes around that. She said when I go back to Kansas where I grew up, I get a little bit of an accent. I start saying Woofagass and fixing to. And anyway, we're out there. It's a little old house, beautiful little, I think it was like kind of a Rambler Tudor style, and old foundation. And Jim comes out, and he just seemed happy. And he was all beat up, and he had gnarly fingers, and you shake his hand, and it felt like you were shaking literally pieces of rebar mixed with cinder block. Just powerful hands. And he crawled up, and there's more stories I can tell you about this guy. It was a spiritual experience just being around him, because he took pride in his work. And I told him, well, he just got done with cancer and going through some hard times, and he still literally was supposed to be in the hospital bed. And he's like, no, this is what I do. And because I told him I can maybe go under there with the camera and look at it for him. And he wouldn't let me, because he took pride in his work, and his job meant something to him. And it wasn't necessarily the job. Believe it or not, the job, I think, was really hard for him. He was in pain, but he wouldn't listen to me, and he crawled up under that old house. He looked up under the foundation. Spiders are under there, and just tough man. And honestly, if the spider even tried to bite him, first its fangs would break, because the guy's built so tough. But the poison that's in that guy, the good stuff, whatever, the spider would have rolled up and died. The guy was just built different. And I'm not talking buff. He was shorter than me, and I'm just an average height guy. But there was just a presence being around it, because he knew who he was. He knew that his job meant something. And he said, no, I need to know what it looks like under there, because I know these old houses. So his life, his experience, it all added to the value of the purpose that he had in his life. So he wasn't existing. He actually had purpose. And what was he doing? He was crawling under, making sure the foundation was secure. Well, that's not the way Jim saw it. Jim saw that he was underneath the house, making sure that something old and beautiful lasted. He was making sure that it didn't shift or something bad would happen to the people living inside of it. He was protecting the home, protecting the people, and his experience and his knowledge and wisdom mattered, and it benefited people. And he took real joy despite his discomfort, despite recovering from colon cancer, despite the fact that he literally at that moment was supposed to be in a hospital bed. He was under the house, covered in dirt and dust, surrounded by spiders and grime, but he was doing something that meant something to him, and it benefited his life and mine. And so both of us walked away from that better people. And I remember telling Jim, I shook his hand, and my eyes got a little misty. And I said, I want to thank you. Literally, this country was built on the backs and with the hands of strong and amazing men like you. And it's an honor. And I was so sincere when I said this to him. I looked in his eyes, and I said, it is an honor for me to meet you and to hear your story. That can happen with pretty much any job that you choose to apply yourself to. You can be a janitor and look forward to meeting the kids every day and seeing that one person out there, like Eric Bell said on the podcast a few weeks back. And I think you call them the invisibles. Maybe there's a kid that just, their mom and dad are having a hard time, and they just needed someone to say, hey, I like your smile. Those little acts of kindness and those little acts of goodness, it doesn't matter what your job is. You can do that if you're a computer programmer at the water cooler. You can do that if you're a teacher with a student. You can do it like Jim did. You can do it if you're a painter, a truck driver. It doesn't matter. And I've had beautiful experiences with all of these people. And I have found, even in some of my hardest jobs, I found a way to laugh, I found a way to smile, and I found a way to make someone's day just a little bit better. So maybe that'll help you a little bit in your life. So maybe try that out sometime and see if finding joy in the purpose, or joy and finding joy in the journey of your job. Because your job isn't forever. Your career isn't forever typically. It's just a stepping stone to the next best thing. You might as well help people up along the way.